Hello, second graders. This is Miss Montevias, and this week you're going to be learning about parts of a plant. Now, there are a few vocabulary words that you should know when you're learning about plants. Roots is one of the vocabulary words, or one of the words you should know, and the roots take in the water at the bottom of the plant. A stem, we're going to be looking at this more closely on some images later on, and a stem carries water through the plant. Leaves, the leaves make food for the plant. And the flower makes seeds. Now let's look at this picture and we can go over it with more detail. If we look at the bottom of the plant, this little section right here, these are called the roots. Now, a lot of times you don't see the roots because they're underground, but if you were to pull a flower out, you'll be able to see the roots. Now, let's look at this stick part right here. The whole stick is called the stem. And that is where the water is carried through the plant. So the roots take in the water and then the water is carried to the plant through the stem. Now let's look at the leaves. This right here is the leaves, which I'm sure many of y'all know. The leaves, they make food for the plant. And finally, when we look at this part, this is the flower. So now we've gone over where our roots are, and usually you have dirt on top so you can't see the roots. And the roots take in the water. Then the stem carries the water through the plant, which is the little stick here. We've got our leaves here, and then we have our flower. So now that we've gone over that, let's look at more examples. Here we have a sunflower, and you can see at the bottom, you can see the roots. And the roots look like little hair or strings. And that's the part that we cannot see because it's underground. Then we have the stem, and the stem is the stick that's holding it up. We've got the leaves there, and we have the flower on top. That's a sunflower. Now let's look at a tulip. A tulip also has the roots at the bottom. If you look at the bottom, there's a bunch of little stringy-like pieces of strings or hair at the bottom. Those are the roots. That's what takes in the water for the plant. And then you have the stem, which is a stick in the middle that's carrying the water through the plant. The tulip also has leaves. These leaves are different than what we're used to seeing, right? And then we have the flower on top. So both the sunflower, the tulip, and now let's look at the marigold. They all have the same kind of plant parts. If we look at the bottom, look at the roots on that marigold. They're stringy, but they're in dirt still. And you can see how they look when they're trapped around the dirt. It looks like they pulled that plant out of a pot. That's why it's so squared. And then if you look at the center, you've got the stick that's holding it up is the stem. That's where it gets its water from. Then you have the leaves that make the food for the plant. These are different types of leaves. You see how they're shaped differently? And then you have the flower on top that makes the seeds. So now it's going to be your turn to get creative, and your task on the learning board is for you to look around your house and use objects around your house to create a plant with all of its parts. Now, what I mean by all of its parts is all the parts that we've been learning about this week. Roots, stem, leaves, flowers. Find stuff that you can use to make your roots. Find things around the house that you can use to make your stem, to make your leaves, and to make the flower. Now, the pictures I have here are just examples of what kids used to make their roots. It looks like some of them used yarn. You don't have to use yarn. You could use something else to make your roots. You can use anything that you find around your house that looks like roots. Here, the students used pipe cleaner for the stem. You can use something else. You can use whatever you find around your house. And it doesn't have to be a small flower. It could be something that's bigger than even you. You can even use a broomstick to make a stem for a flower, and see what other things you can find around the house to make a flower and its parts. So I encourage you to get creative and have fun as you complete this task on your learning board. Bye-bye, boys and girls. Have fun.